For all you early arrivals, we will be starting in 5 minutes. Thanks for your patience and welcome to the MXM event. We'll talk soon. Hey, Blair.
Frank, hi, how are you?
I am the pinch hitter for today. Good to see you.
Happy to have you as a pinch hitter.
Well, thank you. It's great to always have you around, and I know everyone's looking forward to this.
I hope so.
I bet you they are. Hey,
Lisa.
I'm excited about it, Blair.
Bill.
I have your.
Blair, you know Bill. You know Bill McBride, don't you?
Oh, just a little bit.
God, you put those two in a room together and we are in trouble.
For sure. Forget about asking questions. They're going to talk. All right, we got a 2-minute warning here, folks. And Blair, we have you till 3 o'clock. Well, 1 hour, starting at 2 o'clock Eastern, correct?
Yeah, and I won't go that long. I mean, we'll have time for Q&A. I won't keep people away from their. I intended this to be more concise and Let me make sure I got the right slides up here.
What Freeport put on.
I'll make
Oh, they keep doing that. I told them a number of times. Are you looking at the DocuSign that Ralph sent, that link? Yeah. Okay. And
Attendees, if you guys
just
could
reviewing it
mute
for,
your
make
phones,
sure,
we can hear your
uh,
conversation. If you
got
could,
him to draw.
hello. There we go.
Can you mute Frank?
All right. Okay, muted it. Thank you for muting.
It's okay. It's okay.
Lisa, how's that iPad?
I absolutely love it. We're doing a lot of member testimonials and it is so great. I love it.
Awesome. Great to hear. Loved
Thank
your
you.
podcast. I love listening to your podcast as well.
Oh,
Great job.
thank you. Medallia MXM really helps me a lot. So it's because of them that I'm able to do podcasts and stuff. So thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, how's it going, Frank?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir.
Blair, you ready?
I'm ready when you are, brother. Yep.
All right. I don't want to keep people waiting, so I'm going to do just a real quick, brief introduction. For all of you who are wondering who the heck am I am not Eddie Talk. I am actually pinch hitting Eddie. He is taking care of some business with his family, and he's asked me to step in, and which is pretty easy because I've actually joined the team as a chair for the Rex Roundtables since the URSA affiliation has started. So it's an honor to be here and really do a quick introduction to somebody who really probably doesn't need an introduction. Blair McCaney, he's the president and CEO of a lot of things. The one thing that I thought was interesting looking at Blair's background was really his degree, and his degree that is in humility and grit. And I think after 37 years, Blair, my guess is that it's a PhD. And I would encourage all of you to take a look at some of his recent posts on LinkedIn that he has that are really great reads. And I'll just say thank you on behalf of the industry, where without you, I'm not sure how we would have been able to get through a lot of our pre-opening protocols. And a lot of it was due to you and having
Glass, read okay?
you guys can mute your phones, that would be great, or your computers. But to have you as a friend and as a colleague, I'm excited to hear about what you have to say. And I'm going to turn it over to Blair McCaney. Welcome, Blair. Good to have you, bud.
Frank, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll give you one quick bit of good news. I just got a call from our lobbyist, and he just had a meeting with the governor's office, and our entire state is now moving to phase 3 on March 22nd, and up to 50% capacity up here in the state of Washington. I'm not supposed to say anything about that yet, so fortunately, you know, I probably let the cat out of the bag.
Quiet golf clap for you then.
Okay, you guys, this I'm gonna keep this shorter than the allotted time, but this comes from thinking about not just how you measure member experience, but we need to get people to take more action and actually get their hands dirty and do things with it. So I'm going to give you some very practical, daily, tactical, weekly ways to get value. And I've talked through this before, right? And it's where We generally think of marketing and sales as driving new leads into the bucket, and that operations decreases attrition. And what I want you to think about is how your club or clubs should be manufacturing promoters. That should be kind of the key role of your club, is to manufacture promoters. And if you're manufacturing too many passives and detractors, you may have a defect in your operations. You could certainly be maybe attracting the wrong person in the first place. That's potential too, but that would be something to do with marketing. But what we want to do is we want to focus on this constantly iterating on our operations so that we can have more promoters, but we need to activate these promoters so that they are a big part of our sales. And that's why I want you to think more and more about member experience. Is it's not just about decreasing attrition, it's about driving revenue and driving sales. So I'm going to take you through some plays. And so whether it's our system or another system, I think you can find versions of these plays, but these are the things that you actually go and do. So you're not just a customer experience watcher, you're actually managing this and driving revenue and driving change. So this first play, I'm going to call New Here and Need Help. Now, this is going to require giving you a little bit of context. We're looking for people that are dissatisfied with certain things. The context here is that this particular club actually measures more than just the ongoing member experience. I'm going to point out up here that this club has their core membership experience, but they're also measuring the early member experience and the cancellation experience. This early member piece, especially if you're on ABC Financial, this is just, you should be running these. And so in the early member experience, we're asking different things. It's not all of the same information that we do once they've been onboarded. So you can see the nuance here in some of it. How confident are you that you begin a sustainable program? Are you comfortable with the equipment? Do you understand what services are provided? Now, typically we kind of look at these, but I'm going to make a point about some of these happier faces here. So if we look at just one of these cases, and here is a person very happy. They feel valued and welcomed in this facility, but they're saying, you know what, I'm not sure I understand the services that you provide. I'm not completely comfortable with the exercises that I have. And I'm not confident that I can keep this exercise program up. They've only told you that because we've asked the right things and because they've clicked a number, because down here, they're not telling you that. They're saying they gave you a 10 because of staff, the huge variety of equipment, and the class selection. So here's the play that we need to run. We look at their profile. I can see here, they've only been in 3 times in the last 30 days. So this is a newer member. They love us. They are, this is the moral equivalent to somebody just walked up to you in the club and said, are you the owner? Or are you the GM? Yes, I am. Hi, my name's Blair. I love this place. It's spotless. The people are super nice. I've been treated so well here. Every time I come in, they remember my name. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I think my exercise program isn't the one for me. And I don't think I'm going to make it. And so I want to know, what do you do with that person standing in front of you? Because that's this person standing in front of you, and they're coming into your club every single day. And so we're going to run this play. We're going to call, or we're going to email them. This isn't just, can I schedule an appointment? I think when we're running these, and we like to call these micro marketing, I think when we're running these plays, we want to be really a lot more thoughtful about the human to human connection and have a real intake process, do some real inquiry about what, you know, how did we bring you in? What do you need? I talked with a member of ours last night where she works out in a small group. 3 of them work out in a small group, and they work with one particular trainer. That trainer wasn't available, so we put another trainer in there, and she trained him. But it wasn't a good experience for him. It was a bad experience. She trained him hard. She didn't find out enough about them. And so I think there's a gap that we have in handing off when a trainer is going to be absent, that we didn't hand off enough information to the new trainer to say, actually, these gals are just kind of getting started and they're more interested in you know, not getting down on the floor. And so I think we need to do more thoughtful inquiry, schedule the right follow-up. But there's another opportunity in this play, and that is to go investigate how this member was onboarded and see if maybe there's a gap in the system. Next play I'm going to call It's Not You, It's Me. And this comes from your regular, everyday, incoming membership experience. And what do we see here? This person is having a really good experience, but we do notice that fitness results is a 5. And the reason I say it's not you, it's me, is because when you see this, that's how people think about it. If you ask them about their fitness results, they're going to say, it's not you. You guys are awesome. I'm just not getting it. But I don't think we should really accept that. I think our jobs, I think the purpose of the industry is to create exercise habits. I think our jobs, therefore, are to engage with people that are in this situation and take responsibility for it. There's some other nuance in this. And I don't know if you notice here, but not getting good fitness results, but look at here. They gave a 10 on personal training services and a 10 on personal trainers. So now that has me really interested. So I'm going to check this person. They've come in 22 times in the last 30 days, probably working with a trainer, and they're not happy with fitness results. So now I'm going to dig into this one. I'm going to investigate the PT history. I'm going to call her email. Again, thorough inquiry, then whatever the appropriate follow-up is. I'll bet those two play. By the way, when I went in to put this deck together, I found those two right away. I'll bet those two plays are worth $1,000 over the next 12 months to me. Whether either in getting them the right services they need, them being a better reference for us, we become more referable, they're more likely to be friends. But the obvious one is I can probably get them into the right services. And so you notice I'm not saying I can just sell them stuff, but it's really getting them into the right services. They are expressing a dissatisfaction with the ability to keep going the way they are. So now let's look, those are daily cadence plays. Let's look at some operational plays on a weekly cadence. And this is just personal training leads. And this is going into the system and just filtering, just being thoughtful about how we filter. And what we're looking for people. So in this case, in the first cases, let me go back here for just a second. Think about those first two plays. Who is that? For me, it's our GM, Katie. And we're just ramping back up. I just told you we get to go up to 50% on the 22nd. She's trying to bring revenue back. She's trying to bring revenue back. That's the job she's trying to get done. And this is coming in every day. And she can run those plays and actually get more to the revenue line that she actually needs. This next play could be, in our case, these PT leads, this could be Katie, our GM, or it might be a marketing director, if you have a marketing director, depending on the size of your organization. So we're setting here, we're looking for people that are happy with us, but are not happy with their fitness results. Then we're filtering. So we're looking at that one case that I showed you, they're having a great experience, but not happy with fitness results. That's the daily cadence. But now I can set a weekly cadence where I'm now just setting my bookmarks here, and it's PT leads weekly. Or if you're a real large organization, maybe it's monthly and you're doing an email reach out. But it's the same thing, right? We filter for fitness results, likely to recommend. We use whatever the time period that's appropriate. You download the list and then you process it. And what I mean by process, that's going to be different for different organizations. For us,
Something
weekly.
launch, so.
For us, if it's weekly, then that's probably going to be processed by just handing that list to our fitness director.
Right now, we're in.
Hey, gang, can you guys please mute your voice? Thank you.
And they're going to make thoughtful reach outs and human to human contact. If it's a large organization, it might be that gets downloaded and there's an email offer that gets sent. But just think about who in your organization. Is it a marketing person that needs to set that bookmark and pull those personal training leads? Is it a GM? Because it could be different for different sides of the organization. Summer camp leads, I'm going to use this, and it's going to be a proxy for ways to get other leads. You'll see what I mean here. But for example, with this organization, they have kids club in all of their locations. They also have outdoor training in all of their locations. So all I did was think about childcare. Who's taking childcare currently? And we filtered for people that gave a 9 or 10 about the childcare services. They also gave a 9 or 10 about childcare friendliness. Then we run that report. I have now have 833 leads that I can invite to do the kids' summer camp that we're doing outdoors. Then I'm going to set that bookmark so that I can get back to it each time. Now, I said this was a proxy because what if you were launching a new group fitness class? So intuitively, how might you think about that? If I'm launching a new group fitness class, well, I might go over here and look for people that gave me a 9 or 10 on group fitness services and also a 9 or 10 on group fitness staff friendliness. That's going to be a much larger list than this, by the way. And that gives me the opportunity to market directly to them for what might be limited space. Maybe it's something I don't want to broadcast out everywhere. So be thoughtful about your filtering, and this can be those weekly plays that you run to drive revenue. And who has that job to be done in your organization? So these are childcare scores, but this would probably be a fitness director job, right? This is how we teach them how to use it so that they can get kids into the sports camp in the summer. So filter for childcare scores, set the time frame, download the list, process, set the bookmark. Monthly, quarterly cadence. Operational plays. I'm going to call these process pains and searching words to live by. In our locations, in our 2 locations, this is going to be a GM job and might bring me in on it. In a much larger organization, this might move up to a COO role. Maybe you challenge each region with doing this job, and some of this will be monthly and some of it will be quarterly. But I'm going to show you something here just by using smart word search. So what I've done is I've gone into all the feedback I've taken the last 90 days, and I'm searching appointment or reservation. The reason I wanted to do this is because of the shutdown. I mean, everybody sort of adopted appointment and reservation systems in areas where you didn't have them before. That's kind of a key thing here. Then I'm going to run that. And I noticed I got 235 or 285 comments of people talking about reservations or talking about appointments. And as I scrolled through these, I started to see people saying it was hard to make a reservation. It was hard to cancel a reservation. Now we're starting to find friction in a process that allows us to go back and then thoughtfully redo that process. I was on the phone with a customer this morning, and we're talking about pain in one of their processes. And their next action item, what I suggested was, and I think what they're following up with, and this was joining online, the joining online process, too much abandonment, and maybe we're getting too much information. And so what they're doing is they're having the entire executive team take on different personas. So, you're going to be a woman that's trying to join and add her spouse. You're going to be somebody trying to join and add 2 kids. And then we gave them certain words to think about. Think about when you're frustrated, when you're confused, when stuff's hard. Think about those words. And then they're all going to just literally go in and buy their own memberships using different personas. They're going to record down when that, when it got sticky or when it was too much work. And then they're just going to get back together and then look at a redesign of that process. Here's another great word to search: promise. And when you search promise, you will generally find gaps in what people are being told and what they're getting. And this will usually occur. What I find is it generally occurs more post-sale of training or post-sale of membership. And so you'll find early gaps in what's being said and what's actually being executed. Should. This is just the member saying you should. Closed caption should always be on due to the noise level of the gym. How hard would that be to fix? You know what? Let's make that a policy across all of our. Let's fix that policy. Let's just get that out there. And and by the way, that's probably more than a memo, because I'm wondering if you have multiple locations, do people know how to turn the closed caption on? Does it have to be done? Can it be done all at once? How do we do it on each TV? How do we? And so, but that's something that would make life a lot easier as the gyms start to get full again. So should is a great word. Tried. When do people use the word tried? Usually when they failed at something. Well, I tried to do this and it didn't work. I tried to do this and couldn't make it work. Keywords are, this is so important for finding the right thing to go do, and think of who should be doing this job. And I'm going to give you a cadence at which this should probably be taking place. This last one isn't a pain point. Dale Weideman, who's our VP of sales, reminded me, we were talking about this yesterday, and he reminded me that when Medallia was launching their text analytics, the team was working with Hewlett Packard for the Hewlett Packard program. And they discovered that when customers said wish, there was so much incredible rich information when they said wish. And so in this case, I just filtered on wish. I have found 347 wishes here. You might find that you can actually go grant some of these wishes. And some of these wishes might be the addition of a class, and maybe you can't, but maybe you can. But some of these wishes might just be about process. Some of these wishes might be something that you just never thought of, but you have thousands of people thinking about what they wish you could do. You're going to find gold when people say, I wish. Now, think through groups of words. What the customer's trying to do. So you can think about your product from appointment to reservation, the word policy, and this search is really smart. So if you say policy and they say policies, it's still going to pick that up. If you say schedule and they say scheduling or scheduled, it's still going to pick that up. Think about what the customer wants you to think about. You should, I tried, you promised. Other words that describe their pain or friction. Interesting when you search by too, right? Too hard, too noisy, too hot, too cold. And if that comes up consistently, especially in single locations, and if you as you neck this down to locations or certain areas of the gyms, then you know you have something you can go fix. And lastly, just sort of what the customer wants. I wish. And that I wish can be one of the most fun searches that you do. Now, here's what I'm going to really ask you to do. If you're really outdoing member experience management in order to create more loyalty, in order to create more sales, then on a monthly basis, don't worry about doing this every day, just on a monthly basis, discover one process or one policy that you can tweak that's going to improve the customer experience and implement it. On a quarterly basis, find a bigger process or policy that's a little hairier to tackle, that might need to be completely redesigned, and commit to fixing that. And I'll tell you, this is like developing software. These are things that should be on your roadmap and planned out. And then you say, okay, we're going to tackle this process tweak here. We're going to tackle this process tweak here. But redesign is going to take place maybe on, longer cadences. But this is the kind of effort that really, really drives customer loyalty, especially when you then communicate it back to your customers. We heard you and we changed this, and then they start to feel a better and better experience. CapEx, we'll talk about this play. Whatever your cadence is for CapEx, I want to take you through how easy it is to find certain things in text analytics. So we're going to do CapEx on plant and equipment. And when I look at this, what I see are three big topics. So this is actually looking at every open box comment, and it's applying sentiment to it. So what people are talking about out there, and this is doing, I think this is about 13,000 records here. And so for these guys, I'm looking at three things when we talk about plant and equipment. I'm going to think about the housekeeping and maintenance. I do want to dig into those topics because there might be something in the physical plant, like if there's a lot of maintenance issues, the sauna keeps coming up in all our locations, or the pool keeps coming up, there's something there that we need to get out ahead of. If I'm going to invest in plant and equipment, I'll tell you that some customers, and Cher at the Houstonians has talked about this a lot. They were going to do a large CapEx project. They dug into their member feedback and found out that they had much more bang for their buck on doing something with their equipment instead of building on to their physical plant. Way more bang for their buck. They got to spend a lot less money and get a lot more impact on the member experience. But I'm going to dig in this case into equipment and gym floor right here. And when I look at that, I can see 56.3% negative. if I drill into that, it's going to break down into these subtopics. And now what I'm going to look at is I want to see these requests and suggestions, and it's highly negative feedback. So I'm going to dig into those. And now at some point, you know, your great technology should keep necking down, guiding you and necking down to a point. I don't care how large your operation is, you must read. You just have to get down and read the representative statements and feel what the customer's feeling. Don't just, you know, don't just trust the software to say, oh, you got to go out and buy squat racks. You need to read what the customers are saying about things. The technology should get you, neck you down to exactly the right places to do that. Now let's bounce back out here for a minute. You'll notice staff here. I'm not going to drill into this one, and I'm gonna wrap up here right after this. But let's say you're in a process of improving everything. What am I going to find when I click on staff? What kind of things would I find on the positive side and the negative side? Well, on the positive side, I'm certainly going to find opportunities to call out great comments about our staff when I do my weekly, you know, email blast out to employees, or a newsletter out to staff, or maybe something that's customer facing out on social media, or something about staff. But in the negative, I'm likely to find gaps in training, gaps in policy or process that we put in place, and our own front line's ability to understand that policy or process and execute it. I'm going to find gaps in how issues are escalated from the member up to resolution. So there's going to be opportunities in there for training and process design by just drilling into the staff comments as well. All of this is about thinking about the operations, just like we did by doing finding the process pain, by getting the personal training list, driving revenue, improving the experience, increasing these sales immediately. It's about kind of those micro marketing opportunities where we can connect human to human with people that are basically standing in front of us and telling us, you know, I have some problems and I don't think I'm going to make it. Those are the opportunities. And with that, Frank, I'm gonna stop right there and see if there's any questions. And if you want to contact us, winningplays@mxmetrics.com. And Frank, I'll just open up for if there's any.
Yeah, so we can get this deck from you just by going to this email address, correct?
I will send you the deck.
Okay.
And if you want to contact us about the system or anything, just reach out to us at winningplays@mxmetrics.com.
Okay.
And then there is a question. Does the QR code surveys, that's a good one. So we actually have what we call sort of on-site feedback, in the moment feedback, and they're QR codes on kiosks, and people can just walk up with their phone and just immediately provide feedback. Those pull right into your system. Yep. Those pull right into the system, and you find them just by filtering which survey program you want.
Blair, I had a question about the CapEx. I'm not sure how many people really thought about using some of these keywords to help with CapEx. Can you expand a little bit more on how that really does save you some money and maybe make you do some things that are more impactful? And you had a great example with Share. How about in your experience with other clubs? You don't have to name who it was, but what surprised you in some of those exercises?
What surprised me in some of the exercises is just how much people were thinking about a big spend and were able to actually do something that had more impact and more immediate with a small spend. I don't know if anybody's on from Rochester Athletic Club, but very early on, they were going to do a lot of improvement. They were going to do it in phases. What they discovered was what was their quickest win was just new equipment. I mean, that was like way easier than redoing the whole physical plant. So if they were looking at those three things they had to do: kind of redecorate, redesign the look and feel of the club, get new equipment. The third thing was they really had to redo their locker rooms. So let's say you have those three things and you're going to invest in all three of those things and you want immediate impact. The cheapest thing that they did was buy equipment, but it also had a huge amount of impact. So that probably, I could spend that money first, get the old equipment out, get new equipment in, have people be extremely happy with that spend, and buy myself time, buy myself time to maybe get more revenue or whatever I need to do, financing or anything, to do the harder pieces later. So your members will flat out, tell you the things that are damaging their experience, the things that can make their experience better.
Yeah, because I think we all tend to think that we know better in what the members want. And so I just love that idea of drilling down into that to really give them what they're asking for, almost their wish list that you mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
Another
And-
question here from, go ahead, Blair.
Go ahead, Frank.
The question is from Lisa again. Is there a way we can see a picture of the member that is in our computer in the survey? So maybe the facial sort of recognition, we sometimes see the names, but we can't think of who the member is.
Yeah, in other words, that is data that's in your member management software. Can we port that over into Medallia? The answer is at some point that's probably going to happen. That is a lot of data storage is a problem with that. At some point that's probably going to happen, Lisa. We're not doing that right now, but we have thought about that.
Good suggestion. Blair, I have a question. I have this internal battle with organizations about what's the best way to get in touch with a member, whether it be a text or a phone call or email. Is it yes to all the above? I mean, you get this information, but what have you found to be a good combination of actually reaching them?
We primarily use email. And then, and sometimes what we say, and I'll bet we have some power users on here, like Lisa, that would say, when you need to call them, right? You'll know when you need to call that person, and those we do reach out. That could be something that's really been, they have a strong issue. They've maybe been a member a long time. It might be somebody that personally in that club, but generally it's an email reach out that we do.
It's a comment from Barbara. Thank you, Barbara. It says she keeps her club automation system open and look at it every time a member before they respond. So that's one way around it. I like that idea. Good thinking, Barbara.
Yeah, and that's so in those first two cases I was talking about, that's a perfect example of that, because you want to understand, well, they scored PT really high, but their fitness results are low. Maybe I have my system open and just look at that. What are they doing in PT?
And Charlie also actually handles his the same way. So good best practice there without having to worry about that storage issue you mentioned, Blair.
It does bring up though, Frank, think about this, right? And everybody out there, you guys, it does bring up the data integration, right? Like, how do we get better and better at data warehousing and data integration? Because it would be ideal if that data is porting over through both systems, right? So that when you are in MXM and you're going to respond, so some of our larger customers have really great IT chops, and when they're in there, they can see, total spend last 90 days, personal training spend, whether they have personal training that they've used, the last time they used personal training, all of that right in their case in MXM. So all of that is possible as companies get better and better with their APIs, or as we get better at data warehousing. All that stuff, that's the stuff that we all got to be thinking about, whether it's with MXM, you guys, or anything else. That stuff's going to be increasingly important to us.
Where have you seen, because you obviously are a leader in this space for our industry, have you seen anyone actually have enough courage to do an automatic click to a phone number that is either to the bat phone, if you will, for the general manager, the COO, or someone else that might be a manager on duty if they just don't want to type or they don't want to text or anything like that?
You mean where it would be available anywhere in the gym or something like that to just...
It could be something like that, or on the emails that you send back out to people who have completed the survey, that there's a direct link that it can actually get the direct phone line to the person
Yeah.
who would be in charge?
The answer is yes. In fact,
Yeah.
one of our largest customers, the thank you page is a link to their concierge service.
Yeah.
It's if you need further help and click here. And it clicks and it's just an email that goes right to their concierge service. Yeah. And some of that, because people are coming back, they're understaffed, right? They're understaffed. And so sometimes people are saying, we may not be able to respond to every one of these, but we guarantee we're reading these. So this particular company, yeah, they have a centralized concierge service, and they're going to make it really, really easy to get to.
That's great. Have you seen a little bit of complacency, especially if a club is really good with their NPS, where they tend to ignore the promoters, if you will, the ones that they know are good, they love them no matter what? Have you seen that sort of complacency happen sometimes, and do you caution against that?
Oh, I really caution against that. Just responding to somebody and just saying thanks,
Yeah.
that level of engagement will keep people longer. And every piece of feedback that comes in is an opportunity. And yes, I do see complacency sometimes when there's very high net promoter scores. Everything seems to be, going along really well, and people start to leave money on the ground because they're not paying attention to the nuance in some of the scores that they get back. And the other thing would be to start to advance your program to find other touch points. That early member piece is incredibly valuable information. And if you're on ABC Financial, we're a certified integration partner there. We can get the cancellation feedback also. The cancellation feedback can be invaluable.
Yeah, the cancellation. Have you seen very many saves, if you will, percent-wise of those that have canceled, and any sort of tips on how to save people after they have canceled using your system?
So the best thing I can tell you on that, Frank, is in our own clubs, is we ran that cancellation survey. We would get maybe a save a week, something like that, somewhere in there. But that's real money. That a save a week is real money. So I'd say that per club. So two saves per week.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes what you have is a remarketing. So you have people that might be leaving for some reason. You want to put that contact, but they love you. So that information should go right back into your CRM, right? To remarket to them. So same with those personal training leads, depending on the size of your organization and whether you have a CRM for personal training. So as you're running those reports on low fitness results and high likely to recommend, you can just take that data, put it back into your CRM if you have a sales pipeline CRM for personal training, and let it just process through your regular, whatever you're doing there.
Yeah, and one of the things, just switching gears a little bit, that I've seen is that oftentimes people will score you incorrectly. And so they say something nice in writing, but then the score shows they're a detractor or a passive. And then you call them and they say, oh, no, we love you, Frank, or we love you, Blair. Do you encourage sort of a re-survey at that time?
Never. That people end up with just phony NPS scores when they do that. No, just let them. They scored you how they thought about at the time. When you go if you're going to talk to them, they might want to tell you something at that point that isn't. And the last thing you should do then is resurvey them, because they were actually giving you information based on a whole set of touch points. And now you're sort of saying, okay, I'm going to resend this to you. And now they're thinking about only one touch point, that conversation with you. That contaminates the existing data that you have. So it's so what I would say to that, Frank, is don't worry about the score ever. Only worry about the experience. And that's one of the problems, I think, and one of the issues that people get into is thinking about the score.
Yep.
How do we move our score? How do we move our friendliness scores? No. How do you come off as more friendly? Think about coming off as more friendly. Think about, how do we improve our cleanliness scores? How can we be perceived as cleaner? Well, one, you can be cleaner, Two, you can be seen cleaning more. You know, there's a lot of things you can actually do to drive cleanliness. And this is NPS becomes a problem when we just monitor it. And when we just think about how do we move our NPS score? I want you to think about being a promoter manufacturer, you know, and thinking about how do we constantly make the experience better. Because if you think about that, then there's stuff you can actually go do, right? And it's always going to be changing something in your operations, changing something in your training, changing something in process, policy, business practice, plant equipment, programming. There's always something to change. And you can always cycle back to another part of your operation.
Yeah, I would tell you that I think we've seen victims of the scoreboard. We just worry too much about the scoreboard, and we're not worried about the process that I know you advocate so well. I'm going to
What
go
is it
ahead.
called?
I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to everybody else. If you want to come off mute and ask Blair a question here in the last 5 minutes or so before we wrap up. Anybody want to come off a mute or put it in the chat? You're welcome to. We certainly encourage that as everybody multitasks.
Charlie said, Charlie said, it helps me to really personalize the responses as well, catering to the members' habits. I'll tell you, if that is the spear point of the very best in class member experience management systems, is the personalized message. And the more that you have on that profile, the more you understand about that customer, the more personal it is. And I'll tell you, that's true. I mean, that's true with everything. That's awesome, Charlie.
Well said, Charlie. Thank you. Lisa, she has a suggestion. We're using our shutdown surveys to get members, let's see, it just went away on me, to get members to come back to our club now that some of the state mandates are lifted, and it's really helping us. Anything that you're hearing about the mandates being lifted? And thanks for sharing that, Lisa. That's great news.
I will tell you something I've heard a lot about the mandates being lifted in some states where they went from mask policies to zero mask policies. It's been an issue for club owners. It's been an issue because now there's been way more conflict out on the floor. Very good friend of mine, clubs in Montana, said that it was easier when there was a tighter mask policy. What it seems to me is like there has to be some ramp down of that policy so that the consumer is being conditioned to it. Can you imagine that today it's unsafe, and tomorrow suddenly they say there's no mask policy? We know that there's extremes on those ends, and that I think that's been coming more and more into conflict. One of our customers in Texas is not going to follow the state's mandate. They're going to start to ramp it down. That's been my message with Washington Fitness Alliance to our governor's office is, do us a favor and give us something in phase 3, like masks won't be required when you're training outdoors, and masks won't be required when you're on your piece of cardio equipment. That at least starts to condition that ramp down, because everywhere we're seeing where it's sort of been, the Band-Aid's been ripped off, it's caused a lot more havoc on the floor.
Because some still believe that they should have them on.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point, Blair. I think the step down and the staircase down strategy is a way to maybe hit more of the masses rather than just the ones that believe that I'm taking this darn thing off. I'm so tired of it. I think that's smart.
It's really important just to think about who's coming into your club, and we our 2 clubs, we have large corporate memberships with Confluence Health and Columbia Valley Community Health, and those are big operators, and their CEOs have both been very prominent in all of the testing in our valley and getting vaccines out. So I talk to them. I want to know what they're thinking because they're big customers. Yeah.
Blair, before we wrap up, I do, just in case there is some by chance not that are on here who don't subscribe to MXM, what's the best way to get in touch with MXM if they're interested in finding out more about your program?
I'm going to put this up real quick right here. winningplays@mxmetrics.com. winningplays@mxmetrics.com.
Fantastic. And then I have
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question here. Thank you for that, Blair. I have a question here from Lori Haynes. Is there an automated system for having the high promoters who share the reviews and positive comments on Google or even Yelp, perhaps?
So we have an auto system called Review Generator. You Google, Yelp, Facebook, any review site does not allow gating. So gating means that you would just send your high scores there.
Yeah.
We actually have formal strategic partnership agreements with Google and Facebook, and so we adhere to that. I'll tell you this though, send them all. You want to send them all, especially if you have any decent net promoter score at all, because people have an inside voice and an outside voice. And the last thing you want to do is just send your promoters and pre-populate the comment, because promoters might score you high, but say, you guys are kind of, down on your game on cleanliness. That's, people will have an inside voice. They know they're responding to you privately. So what we do is we just say, online review, we do not coach anybody. Our review generator is something to the effect of online reviews help other people make decisions. Would you like to help by providing an online review? We're not doing any coaching. And we send it to 100% of the people that respond. We improved. We had seven times the number of reviews going to Google as we had before we used our review generator.
Really?
7x. There's almost, we only have 2 clubs. By the way, Yelp doesn't play nice with anyone.
Yeah.
Right? If they find out you're doing that, they could, they won't. Yeah. I could go into lots of stories about discussions with Yelp from Medallia and trying to get them to play nice. But I think Google is more relevant now anyway because of search engine optimization.
Yeah, good point. Blair, I'm going to let you have the last word unless I see a question come in for the chat. Just to wrap it up here, going on 45 minutes. Any final one last thing that you want to let the audience walk away from as we get ready to reopen in this? I believe it, I've said it publicly, this epic comeback is on its way. What would you like to leave us with in terms of some inspiration and sound advice? The
most epic comebacks, those that win here, are going to be the ones that deliver on the member experience. That is, if that wasn't the dimension you were competing on before, it is absolutely the dimension you'll be competing on now. And not having the high frequency information that informs you when things are shifting, because it could shift fast. You need to see the information as high frequency. You need to have plays that you can run daily, weekly, quarterly. And I've gotten into 5% of the plays. I could do an entire series on just alignment plays. How do we align every role in the company, to the customer experience vision that we have?
Well, we're just going to have you back to do that, because that could be extremely valuable to get buy-in. I love that. And,
I love it. And that's what it is. That's what it is, Frank. That's what you're doing, because you can't, delivering a great customer experience is not pounding the table and saying, everybody go out and deliver a great customer experience, damn it. It's not like this begrudging compliance. Getting a great customer experience is this enthusiastic buy-in from everybody. And that's a whole different set of plays. But that's what I'd leave people with, is this is where the winners are going to be, is really understanding and making customer experience part of their key strategy, not a tactic.
Strategy versus tactic. I think that's a great way to finish up with today. I know that all of us, and I know I speak for everyone because I know how people feel about you, Blair. We could listen to you all afternoon. You're a guiding light. You're the light on the hill, as one president used to say. And so thank you for your time. We appreciate you, Blair. And for all of you who attended today, thank you on behalf of Rex. And as the pinch hitter for Rex Roundtables and Eddie Talk, we'll see you next time, and maybe we'll have Blair back pretty soon. See you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Blair. Great work.